Hello, welcome to Atrocious Gameplay. Today, for Theme Deck Thursday, we are going over the two theme decks coming in the newest set, Vivid Voltage, officially releasing tomorrow. I believe that starting on Friday, you'll be able to get both of these theme decks in like your major retailers, Walmart, Target, Meijer, things of that nature, even places that sell theme decks as well, like Walgreens. These are two really cool theme decks that I think, especially as newer players, or even if you are competitive players and want to pick up some good cards, these theme decks are exactly for you. These are two very, very cool theme decks that I think actually do pretty well in the meta, and we'll just go over the list because we know what the lists are, and I really encourage you to look for these and play these on PTCGO as soon as you can. Next week, we will actually feature gameplay with these two theme decks. Now, the first one that I want to go over is the Nessa Dreadnought one. This is the one on the left right here. So we are just going to look at that real quick and that deck list, and it's got a lot of great things in it, in my opinion. But one of the cards that I think is kind of the best for this theme deck specifically in terms of a gameplay perspective is the Nessa card right here. Now, you get 3 Nessas in this, and this Nessa card is really, really good for a deck like this one because put up to any combination of 4 water Pokemon and 4 energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. So let's say with this Professor Research, maybe you had to discard early a I don't know, a Dewott, maybe a Barraskewda, maybe you had to throw away a couple water energies as well off a opening hand research. No worries, you can use Nessa the following turn to grab any of those cards because, like, let's say you put that Oshawott down turn 1. Let's say you put that Choodle down turn 1. You research, you discard a couple other things, so then you can start going on the rest of your deck. You get a Nessa, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. I can just use that Nessa, grab my Dreadnought or grab my Dewott or something like that I threw away, and boom, I get to evolve straight away and I get to progress my deck, because that's the point of theme decks. You want to be able to progress as fast as possible because they're generally slower than those that you would find in the standard, expanded, or even legacy formats. So with 18 energies, it's a lot, but you know, we're pretty used to that in terms of theme decks. But another card that makes this really, really awesome is the Kramer. Where's Kramer? There it is. Kramer and Arrokuda comboing. So if you do not know, you get 3 Arrokudas in the deck. Very nice. That allows you to have 3 of them. Very, very cool. But Kramer, you get 2 of these Kramerants, and for 2 colorless energies. This is why a lot of people are really excited about the Kramer Arrokuda combo. There's been a lot of good rogue deck profiles for the standard format for this already released. Continuous Gulp Missile on the Kramer for 60 damage times. 60 damage times is like the base. For each Arrokuda on your bench that you discard, do 60 more damage. This is very, very interesting. So, especially with comboing of the Nessa, maybe you're going with a more Kramer style, just kind of one-shotting things as they come up. You've got a bunch of Arrokuda that are on the bench. You got your Kramer up front, whacking things and whacking things. You got 3 Arrokudas on the bench. You discard them, do 180 damage, which, by the way, I think knocks out everything in the format right now in terms of standard. I could be wrong on that, but you can't argue that 180 is a ton, especially if you play in the standard format. Anyways, 180 damage from that attack alone, and then the Nessa can allow you to not only grab those 3 Arrokudas back in your hand so you can re-put them on the bench and then discard them for a second turn of 180. You can also do something like grab an energy back to be able to attach an energy for a turn to a bench Pokemon, whether that is a Oshawott, which we'll get into the Samurai here in a second, or another Cramorant, or anything that you see fitting. So this deck is really, really cool in my opinion. I think that synergy of just that alone, the Arrokuda, the Kramer, and the Nessa are very, very good. And you know, with the 3 Nessas in here, usually we see only 2, or I mean, Hop is a card that is essential in all theme decks. It's in almost every single Sword and Shield theme deck. But anyways, 3 other ones of a supporter that is not Hop is not something that is very precedent in Pokemon. So having this Nessa here to be able to give that flexibility and to give that kind of synergy even more is really awesome. And considering that you have, you know, a couple great balls in here. You have Evolution Incense, Sonya, another great card that we know and love and have seen in some standard format decks with Luke Metal, where Sonya, you're either allowed to grab 2 Pokemon or 2 energies with your decision. And that card right there in itself can provide a lot of different options also, especially if you research, but maybe like you don't have anything from your discard pile that you really need and can utilize Nessa for. Maybe it was just like, I don't know, like 2 hops and in Evolution Incense and 2 energies. Maybe you don't really need to use Nessa yet, so you go with the Sonya instead. So this is really, really interesting. With the Dreadnought, you are playing a 3-3 line, so I kind of want to go over the Dreadnought real quick. It is a stage 1, but its attack cost is a little bit more than something like a Kramer that you would use with VIV. If you play Nessa from your hand during this turn, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Paralysis is pretty good in the theme deck format because there's not a lot of switch effects that happen, especially with the theme deck format. You know, just like this theme deck right here, you're only playing 2 switches, all right? And usually those are the only 2 switches that you have in a theme deck. Those are the only 2 switch effects. And in a deck of 60 cards, 2 with nothing like a Green's Exploration or something like that, 2 of something is very, very hard to find. So the switch or the Vice Wave could be very, very good in terms of a stall out method, but again, you have to use the Nessa in this. But again, playing that high count of Nessa, you might be able to perform this maybe once, 2 times in a row, which could actually really help you out if you're facing something, you know, really big like the Rillaboom theme deck or something like that. You're facing a big Pokemon that, you know, you otherwise wouldn't be able to one-shot things with if you're facing kind of those bigger evolutions. And then the last card that I kind of want to go over in this is the Samurott that is in this deck. So you see in the theme deck, it's a 3-3-2 Samurott line. This is pretty common for things like stage 2s. It takes a little bit to evolve, but it is actually very, very nice in my personal opinion. Again, especially if you're facing another stage 2 deck where you're probably not going to be able to one-shot it. For 1 water energy and 2 colorless, which in the theme deck, it's always going to be the water energy. So 3 energies, 120 damage. Now you may think, Jake, why would I use the Samurott when instead I could use the Kramer and do 180 damage for 2 energies? Well, Aqua Wash is really good because for 120 damage, you also get to put 2 energies attached to your opponent's active Pokemon into their hand. Think about a lot of the energy acceleration that we have in the theme deck format. We have something like Welder in the Battle Mind Mewtwo deck, which is honestly dropped in popularity the more and more the Sword and Shield format has progressed and been introduced into the theme deck ladder. So the only really other thing that you have at this point is Bead, and Bead is specific to benched Pokemon. So we go back to that idea of the switches not being super prevalent. You know, what are the odds that someone is going to be able to get a switch combo to put that active Pokemon back on the bench, be able to attach to it, accelerate an energy as well, and then manually retreat the active or even have a second switch to be able to come back at you with that Pokemon and attack? It's not going to be very likely in my personal opinion and experience on the theme deck ladder. So this Samurott could be really, really good and kind of really stall out your opponent. You know, maybe you're not hitting for weakness, you know, you're not playing against a fire deck, you're playing against that Rillaboom or the Inteleon theme deck, or anything that has over 120 HP. You know, this is a move that allows you to be able to stall out and maybe help your board state a little bit, because your opponent, you know, could be expending those energies and trying to put them back onto the active, and you just say, nope, I'm gonna wash those away, and you know what, boom. And it also says you may. So let's say that you have a Snorlax from the Rillaboom theme deck that you're facing, and it has 4 energies on it and they're attacking with it. If you do Aqua Wash, you don't have to put those 2 energies back into their hand. You can just opt to not to, because it says you may put 2 energies. That means you don't have to if you don't want to. Therefore, those energies go in the discard, and then that may hinder your opponent a lot more. So Aqua Wash, Very, very cool move in my opinion. Again, it's a stage 2, so it's a little bit harder to build up and a little bit able to utilize. But if you can get it off along with some of these other things, I think you'll look really, really good with this theme deck. Don't be sleeping on this theme deck, even though it is not the more popular one, I would say, in the format. Now, going into the more popular theme deck is obviously, you probably guessed it if you looked at the beginning of the video and you're like, what's that other Pokemon on that other theme deck? It is Charizard. Charizard is getting another theme deck. Obviously, it's quite literally like the second most popular Pokemon ever, second to Pikachu. But Charizard, a stage 2 Pokemon, you are going to get a 3-3-2 line, just like I was saying with the Samurai, how that's pretty common. The 3-3-2 line Charizard stage 2, 170 HP fire Pokemon, 2 fire energies, Royal Blaze for 100 damage. This attack does 50 more damage for each Leon card in your discard pile. Now, a lot of people are excited about this and have built actually standard decks around this. So with a card that is so popular, that is Charizard, it would not be a bad idea whether you want to play IRL theme decks, or maybe if you are building standard rogue decks and you want to build this Charizard deck, it might not be a bad idea to snag this because it gives you 2 Charizards and 2 Leons as well in this deck. So Charizard having an ability, Battle Sense. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand, discard the other cards. A lot of people are excited about this ability because this is a very easy way to accelerate Leons into the discard pile, which, even though you're only playing 2 Leons in this list, having 2 Leons in the discard pile is already 200 damage, which I'm 99.999999998% sure that knocks out everything in the format currently. I mean, this is a stage 2 with 170. It'd be very hard to get a little bit higher than that. I could be wrong in that fact though. But anyways, with the Battle Sense, that allows you to accelerate energy as much as you can, because you're also playing ordinary rods. So let's say that I Battle Sense and I have a Charmander, I have a Leon, I have a fire energy. Maybe I don't need a Charmander. Maybe I already got 3 Charmanders on the bench and that's my last Charmander. Maybe I don't need the fire energy because I already have 3 of them in my hand that I'm constantly attaching every single turn. If I want to choose the Leon, boom, that gets that in there. And then if I have an ordinary rod in the hand, I can choose to put those 2 cards back and other cards as well back into the deck. Remember, theme decks play a lot of Pokemon and a lot of energies, so your ordinary rods are very, very important, I feel like, in this deck. You can get a lot of value out of those personally. If you're wondering why I chose the Leon is actually a very interesting card that has very good synergy, obviously, not only with the attack, but with the effect of Leon, or during this turn, I'm sorry, your Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So think about if maybe you have a Leon already discarded, you use a Leon during the turn, and then you have just your regular attack with the Charizard at the end of the turn. That is 230 damage just for Charizard alone. Not thinking about the other Pokemon in this, like Yon Mega bumping up to 80 damage with a 2 energy attack. Macargo with the Heat Blast doing 90 damage or 210 damage over there. So there's a lot of great things in this theme deck that Leon can help you with. Now, this is a little bit different than Kukui. My veteran theme deck players or veteran Pokemon players will know the Kukui in the Sun and Moon era was 20 damage and draw 2 cards, which made it a really, really nice card. But this is just 30 more damage. So you kind of have that trade-off between drawing 2 cards and doing 10 extra damage in comparison. But especially, again, these heavy hitters with Charizard and Samurai, 30 damage could be really nice. And let me tell you, there's probably a lot of Pokemon that have like that 110, 120 damage range that maybe if you don't have any Leons in the discard pile, or maybe, you will get a Leon in the discard pile, 180 does a ton. So having that difference between 50 and 180, playing that Leon could mean the difference between one-shotting and doing a 2-shot. So a lot of interesting things in this. We'll go over some of the other cards like Yon Mega. For people who know me, I love kind of switching effects and things like that. Sadly, there are no Lily's Polka Dolls or Lily's Clefairy Dolls or whatever that card is called. U-turn with double colorless, which is really nice, just 2 attaches. Switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon and doing 50 damage as well. That's 80 damage with a Leon, as I was mentioning earlier. That can knock out basically any of the kind of baby Pokemon right now in the standard format. So if you have, let's say, an opponent that's falling a little bit far behind and they start throwing up like little baby weak Pokemon to try to just buy a turn of attaching or buying a turn of evolving or things like that, that Yon Mega with 80 could get rid of that Pokemon right away. But again, with the switching effects, you probably really mostly want to Yon Mega if you're going to be able to attack next turn with the Pokemon that's moved to the active, because again, you're not having a lot of switching effects as is. U-turn is probably going to be the most common switching effect that you are going to do, but I still think that that Yon Mega is worth it. And then the Macargo, I wanted to add it in here because it is a 130 Pokemon that is a little bit higher for the stage 1s. Heat Blast for 60, 1 Fire Energy, 2 colorless, just a straight up 60. Heat Blast could be nice, could be decent. And then the Bright Flame for 180. It's 4 energies total for 180. I still think Charizard is a little bit more valuable in comparison. And the effect of Bright Flame is you discard 2 energies from this Pokemon. So I think that's kind of the big reason that Pokemon implemented Ordinary Rods in this list, is because you have the Macargo, you have the Charizard's ability of Battle Sense. You have several effects in this deck that cause you to like lose important items, whether that is Pokemon or energies of things of that nature. But I think both of these theme decks are really good. I'm not gonna lie, these look like very good theme decks. The theme decks are going to be really interesting because they give these valuable cards, like I mentioned earlier. You know, people are going to love playing with Arrokuda and the Kramer. People are going to love playing with the Charizard and Leon. So I highly encourage to get these theme decks in, especially if you're a newer player. You know, maybe you came in with the craze. You know, you've seen all these people opening up Pokemon cards on YouTube. You started reading the cards, maybe buying some cards, collecting. And you're like, you know what? I want to get into playing a little bit. These theme decks are for you. They've got Pokemon that you probably love in them, and they've got some playability as well. You could probably do well with these on the theme deck ladder on PTCGO. And remember, if you buy one of these theme decks IRL, you do get a code that allows you to have this theme deck online as well, and you can instantly start playing. But next Thursday, we're going to go over gameplay of both of these theme decks, not just one. We're going to play with both of these theme decks. It's going to kind of be of a bigger theme deck video, so I hope you're ready, hope you're strapped in, and remember, keep playing every day. We're not very good at video games, but we have a fun time doing it. And you know what? Just keep playing. If you're a little bit frustrated because of the format right now, whether that's standard or whatever, play some theme decks. It's only 500 coins on PTCGO. Highly encourage it. It's a little bit refreshing. It's a little bit of a change of pace and allows you to kind of still be able to get that gameplay practice that you need. And it's very fun. I've had a lot of fun doing the theme deck videos so far, and hopefully we can do more, and hopefully you guys continue to enjoy this. So stay safe. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Wash your hands, wear a mask, be safe, clip your toenails, and blow your nose in a Kleenex. Yeah. And then throw the Kleenex away. Maybe wash your hands after that.